It's a hot, hot day already at the GT4 European Series round at the Circuit Marco Simoncelli at Misano on the Adriatic coast of Italy. We've got 2 qualifying sessions coming up, and drivers will be aware that it's hot in the cockpit, it's going to be hot on the track. It's very busy. We've got 45 cars coming out to play. There's the track temperature, 29.5 degrees. Yesterday, the air temperature by mid-afternoon was 35 degrees. It stayed there at that level until the early evening. And the race, the first of 2 races here in Italy, will be at 5:10 this afternoon. So it will be hot when the drivers go out for their race action. But now it's all about qualifying. It's also, with 45 cars, all about making space on the circuit, space in which to play, space in which to stretch your legs. So the hour of racing is something they have to consider for later on. For now, it's about getting a banker lap in, getting the space, and then trying to really go for a quick one that could put you at the front of what is going to be a very, very competitive grid. Now, just to talk you through GT4 European Series, runs in 3 classes. We have Pro-Am, which is explanatory, a Pro and an Am. We've got the Silver Cup, which is for 2 silver-ranked drivers with less experience, younger in years, and the Am class. And in terms of race wins so far, the opening round, Racing Spirit of Le Mans with their Aston Martin Vantage, Gus Bowers and Konstantin Lachenauer, they're headed to Imola with no wins. They left with 2, and then a complete change, but still an Aston Martin crew. Pro Sport Racing, Mike Ortmann and Hugo Sass took the 2 wins at Paul Ricard. So Imola, Paul Ricard, Misano, great circuits, but this will be the tightest one they've driven on yet this season. Drivers moving around, looking to get heat into their rubber. Real mix of cars, great spread across the championship. Audis, Mercedes, Aston Martins, Toyota with their Supra, BMW with the M4, Chevrolet Camaro, we saw one just come through the shot. And of course, Porsche, staple of GT racing with their Porsche 7 Cayman. Alpine A10, very, very popular as well. And the McLaren 570S. And last weekend at Goodwood, I saw the replacement for that, which is the new Artura model. And I know at the start of this week it was testing in a 30-hour test down at Portimao. So people pushing very hard to bring on the latest, greatest challenges in GT4. A category that started small and has grown and grown. Well, 45 cars here at Misano prove that point perfectly. And of course, the drivers, the very best, will look to move up to GT3, and with GT3 being adopted with the World Endurance Championship in the years to come, certainly it's a great class to be in. And some of the top GT3 runners, of course, are now looking for drives in the World Endurance Championship with the manufacturers as they come back in the top hypercar class. There's something to aim for, and that is why so many young drivers literally skip around single-seaters and come straight into the GT world, which is growing and growing. Right, drivers getting heat in their rubber. Car 34, one of the great-looking Seleslar Racing Team Mercedes. Luca Bosco sharing with Alexandra Papadopoulos. And again, track space, so important. And it's Luca Bosco in the car. The first time's coming on the board. Car 110 goes to top, Simon Turman, but he'll be knocked off very soon indeed. 1 minute 43.8 seconds. In fact, the other 2 cars that came through behind him way slower. It's the warming up process. Luca Bosco, we look at him in that number 34 Mercedes. He takes the top point by almost an entire second from Simon Turman, but expect these times to change very fast. Cars still coming in and out of this pit, but the clock is relentless. The clock keeps ticking at the top of the screen. Under a quarter of an hour remaining in this session. It's very, very quick fire indeed. And I mentioned that one of the winners so far this year, 2 pairs have taken victory, and the second pair, which is Mike Ortmann and Hugo Sass, who won both races in Paul Ricard last time out. He's shaping up for a very quick lap indeed. Mike Ortmann, the number 24 Aston Martin. There was the Camaro V8. Brilliant rumble. This is the infield shot. This is looking from turn 8 back to the kink at turn 7. Mike David Ortmann as he races. Listed 8th at the moment, but he has the fastest opening sector of anyone. And Simon Turman, who set that the initial flying lap for Autosport GP in his Alpine, is now responding in the middle sector. Kenton Cook going very well in his Aston Martin. Right, now the time's improving. Luca Bosco no longer at the top. It's car number 55, Autosport GP, Jean-Baptiste Mella in his Alpine. Alpine's therefore looking very handy indeed at the moment. But just waiting for Mike Ortman to finish his lap, and I think we could see him punting himself to the top of the table. Or not. Let's find out. Green as far as you can see on the screen, which means people picking up the pace. Here is Mike David Ortman. He does go to the top by 3/4 of a second and more, so that's very, very good. And Kenton Cook, I said he was also getting a really good move on for Team Spirit Racing. The American driver shares with Team Nabur, the Dutch racer. Their Aston Martin now at the top of the pile. And as I say that, we've got a new name. It's the Chevrolet. We saw it fleetingly on screen. It's the number 17 car from V8 Racing, and Dante Rapanga, second of the Rapangas racing in this series. He's topped by 0.15 of a second from Kenton Cook. Chevrolet, Aston Martin, Audi, Mercedes. The best Alpine, Jean-Baptiste Mella, down in 7th place overall. So fantastic manufacturer variety. Best of the BMWs, which are a little thin on the ground here, is Paolo Meloni down in 15th place overall, but actually that wasn't a serious lap time. Still waiting for a handful of drivers to get their first meaningful time on the board. So many cars that looking off screen at the moment, have to look to a second screen to find those further down the troop, down the page. But at the moment, the top 6 covered by half a second. It's still Dante Rapanga. He's not improving on this lap. But the driver who's really starting to make moves is Jean-Baptiste Mella. He went to the top. He's fallen down the order. He's got back to the top. His Alpine is top of the charts by 15 thousandths. Well, that's soon enough. And just to let you know, his time, 1 minute 41.17 seconds, is more than 6/10 down on the theoretical best, which is when you put people's overall best sector times together. So he hasn't gathered all 3 of those best sector times. He's still fastest, but it's a narrow margin. And a driver who brings considerable experience in GT3 racing is now racing GT4 is Alex Fontana, the Swiss racer who's had great success over the years in the GT3 series. He's sharing the Gentry Porsche Ticino Cayman, 718 Cayman with Ivan Giacomo, and he's in 3rd place overall. As you can see, a few of the drivers keeping out of the way. They've maybe put a good lap in. They're going for a cooling down lap. The Mercedes, though, suddenly finds him on the inside of the kink, so those behind have to be aware, not have their tracks blocked, not have their run blocked. So it's Alpine from Chevrolet, from Porsche, from Aston Martin, waiting to see if there are any further good laps from Mike Ortman and Kenton Cook, who were very quick to get to the top of the charts. Gregory Gilbert now gets in the mix as the best of the Audis in what was 7th and now 6th and becomes 7th, because Luc Ibanez has become the top Mercedes driver, moves up from nowhere in the number 15 entry from NM Racing Team to go into 3rd overall. Top 3 covered by 500ths of a second. Jim Pla, look for him on the screen. He's absolutely flying. Down in 33rd position, but fear not, he's set the fastest middle sector of anyone. He's now fallen to 34th, but when he completes the lap in his Mercedes number 87, he's fallen to 35th. He's almost off the first time he's clean, and then he goes first. You could see that coming. Just over 1/3 of a second to the good for Jim Pla. So it's Mercedes, and a second Mercedes, Simon Gachet. Get so used to him racing an Audi over the years, but now in a Mercedes in GT4. Those 2 clear of the rest by some margin. Mercedes, Alpine is all at the top of the table. Still some quick drivers yet to put a time on the board. Luc Ibanez in his Mercedes is maybe going to make it 3 Mercedes in the top 3 positions. Fastest overall section in the number 15 Mercedes. His best middle sector. What can he do at the end of the lap? Will there be traffic? There's the question. Well, certainly out there, because there is more than a little traffic, and for those coming through, certainly having their positions somewhat obscured by those running in front of them. Just a good sight of Benjamin Lariche, great livery on his Audi in the background. The shot, that's number 3. He's just tucked in behind Luc Ibanez. How much was he delayed? This lap should have been good for a place in the top couple of rows. Brilliant start to the lap, but I fear for Ibanez, his gun was spiked there, and I think when he completes the lap, we will see no improvement. No, he really lost out in that 3rd sector, so he stays in 6th overall. Looking to see what the BMWs can do, just seeing one flying through the screen. But yeah, it's Will Burns But he has got to pick his pace. But actually, some of these cars may be coming in. It's a very short session. We've got 8 3/4 minutes remaining. But look for the likes of, just looking at the time, must have fallen out of the top 35. Will Burns going very well in his BMW, but not one. Oh, he's moved up to 29th. He was obscured in traffic. Luke Ibanez, though, look at that first sector, fastest of anyone. He's just under 0.8 of a second down on Jim Pla's Mercedes, but Ibanez, as I suggested, may be able to make it a Mercedes 1, 2, 3. The question is, in which order will he slot in? Jim Pla is stopped from Simon Gachet. Where? Just where will Luke Ibanez fit in that number 15 Mercedes? Busy, busy, busy out on the circuit. Looking for that middle sector time. If that's green or pink, that would definitely propel him up the order. He's got clear track ahead of him. That's a real bonus right here. Middle sector time, ooh, not his best. Maybe he was slow at the start of it, but he should be able to absolutely maximize at this end of this lap. But so many a good lap. There are 16 turns, one little slip up, one little block, and your whole lap is wasted. I sort of feel this might have happened in the middle sector. The car in front of him is flipping up a bit of debris on the outside of the circuit. That's the turn in to turn 16, the final corner. The target time, 1 minute 40.423 seconds. How much was he delayed? He could get a top 2 or 3. He goes top. Just waiting for that to come to my screen. The margin is 0.043 of a second. That was very good indeed. But of course, the fight back. Simon Gachet was second, has fallen to third. Can he complete a lap? How good are his sector times? His first sector was good. His middle sector wasn't good, but maybe enough to get back onto the provisional front row. 7 minutes remain. He's got relatively clear track in front of him, but it's Ibanez from Pla. Has Gachet improved, or will he stay in what has become third position? And got a new runner up in 4th place, top Porsche driver. And Vincent Andronico, German racer, has now moved into 4th place. He's the top Porsche driver. Tom Canning, the young British driver, is the top Aston Martin driver in 6th. And Hendricks 5th, and Hendricks still in 6th, is the second best Porsche driver. And drivers who had a spell at the top of the table, falling down a little bit. Jean-Baptiste Meller in his Alpine back into 7th overall, and Dante Rapanga to 8th. Konstantin Lachenau, one of the joint winners of the opening round, is down in 9th. But times continue to change. It's a question of who can find the track space, who has not abused their tyres too much too soon. Luke Ibanez by 0.043 of a second. Another 0.075 is Simon Gachet down on Jim Pla in that second place. On Vincent Andronico, 2/10 down on Gachet in 4th overall. And suddenly the little areas of space on the track, but importantly, is it you that has the space? Simon Thurman there, just going through short. He was the first driver to set a flying lap, but unfortunately for him, since then he's fallen a mere 26 positions to 27th overall. Don't expect any improvements unless it's a really late charge from Hendrick still. He's got himself up to 6th overall, but he just entered the pits in his W&S Motorsport Porsche. Jim Pla looking for improvement from him in the number 87 Mercedes. As you can see, he's backed it right off. He's making space. He's on the left-hand side of the screen. 002 on the screen. Well, he's letting everybody pass. I thought he had enough space in front of him. Here he goes, just entering the final corner. He knows with 5 minutes on the clock, that is the experience, and that's another experience, but not one that was wanted by the number 44 Porsche, running very wide at turn 14. Allied Racing's Alexander Hartwig, so any lap he expected to put on the board there would be scuppered by being all 4 wheels beyond the white lines. So that time would have been removed when it was completed anyhow. Hartwig sitting in 8th in the table. This might be an improvement, but I'm afraid it's come with exceeding track limits, so it won't be a time I would expect him to be able to keep. And in fact, he backed out of it on that final sector. 4.5 minutes remain on the clock. Initially, Mercedes were nowhere, and now they very much are somewhere. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Luke Ibanez, Jim Pla, Simon Gachet, Vincent Andronico, who's the best of the rest in his Porsche, now in the pits. Tom Canning giving chase in his Aston Martin. Hendrick still in the pits in 6th place. Arthur de Clercq in his Alpine also in the pits. Good news is, as drivers come in the pits, what's that do? It makes space out on the circuit. Space that, for some drivers, would be something they haven't had in the entirety of their qualifying session so far. And then, of course, it's about having the tyres in the right condition. Number 10 Aston Martin being pushed very hard there. That's Vincent Andronico's Porsche. That's sitting in the pits, looking as though it's about to go out again. 3 and a bit minutes remain, 3 3/4 minutes, but leaving it late. But in fact, trying to get out of your pit area is quite difficult when so many cars are flashing into the pit lane. But Andronico's still clearly hoping to improve right at the end of this session, but the clock is not his friend. 3.5 minutes remain. Still Luc Ubignes at the top, but he's brought that number 15 Mercedes from NM Racing Team into the pits. Maybe because he thinks it's enough, but he's sitting on a margin of just a 43 thousandths of a second over Jim Pla. Jim is still out on the circuit. He could yet be toppled, but no, well, the driver has climbed out, so Ubignes is happy enough, but that gives more time for his teammate to get ready, get settled before his qualifying session. So certainly Luc Ubignes and Enzo Joly on fantastic form. So, well, it may be a front row position. It is provisionally, but Simon Gachet in third place has just slotted in his fastest time so far in the first section, that number 81 Mercedes from a Codis ASP. So he could be having a crack at the front row. Looking at Luca Bosco as he presses on. He's down in 31st position. He won't enjoy that. Is this lap likely to improve? Yeah, he should. He should be able to gain a place or two. He's down in 31st position. Just wait and see if he stays there. He improves his time, but stays in 31st position. Simon Gachet, though, well, he's gained more in the first sector than he's lost in the second. If it doesn't happen this lap, there's still half the field in the pits. He surely could have another crack next time around. Gachet pushing very, very hard indeed. He's sitting third. He needs to gain just... If he can gain 1/10 of a second, that puts him second. If he can gain 2/10, that'll put him at the top of the charts. In fact, 0.12 of a second would be enough if he wants to do it by a matter of thousands. So Gachet pushing very hard indeed, looking to see the chasers, but just waiting to see, will Gachet improve? Will he improve? Waiting for the time to come on the board. No, he doesn't. He's within 1/100th of his best time, 1/10 of a second of his best time. And now looking for Vava. He comes through. He's in 20th position overall in the number 51 Mercedes. Teammate of the car that's on provisional pole. Gains a couple of positions, but no more. So was that the final shot from Simon Gachet? He's still got track space in front of him in that 81 Mercedes from a Codis ASP. Vast majority of the rest of the field have decided enough is enough. We'll now focus on the second qualifying driver, the second qualifying session. Minute and a bit remains on the clock. If you had the bravery to wait until the track empties out at the end and you get your tyres ready, this is your chance. And you know who's trying to grab that chance? Yes, Simon Gachet. He realised that lap had gone away from him. Concentrated on a good exit from the final corner to give him a good run. That 81 Mercedes from a Codis ASP is on a charge. There will be traffic up ahead. Look for the blue nose. Lights are flashing as he comes out of turn 8. Keep out of my way, please, please. This could be provisional pole. Jim Pla flashing his lights as well. They're very, very quick indeed. So Jim Pla sitting in second place, also from the Codis ASP camp. So Pla and Gachet from a Codis ASP chasing down the time of Luc Ubignes, who cannot respond. His car is in the pits on provisional pole with a time of 1 minute 40.380 seconds. How are the sector times going? Well, Pla, middle sector, awful, so he's not going to improve. Will he stay second, though? Because Simon Gachet pushing super, super hard. His middle sector time, no, was no good either. They've both really been caught in traffic. But yes, if the final sector is good, they may just squeak 100. No, Gachet's backed out. He's driven into the pits, and Pla, I'm sure, well, he's got 4 seconds on the clock. Has he started the final lap? I think he might have to come into the pits as well, or take the flag out on the circuit, which he does. Cross the finish line, safe in second place. His lap was a good one, 2/10 down on his best, but in the end he has to settle for second place in that session. Ubignes on a time of 1 minute 40.380 seconds, holds on by the tiniest of margins. It doesn't matter, whatever, little or large. In the end it was 43 thousandths of a second to the good over Jim Pla, with Gachet again waving the Mercedes flag in third overall. Best of the rest, best non-Mercedes driver was Vincent Andronico in his Porsche number 22 from Allied Racing, and he in turn was only 3/10 of a second down on Ubignes. So very, very close, very, very tight. In fact, all the cars covered by within a second of pole stretched down to 18th place overall, where Kenton Cook ended up. And Mike Ortman, who just remember, like Cook, was at the top of the table early on, double winner last time out at Paul Ricard, has qualified only 17th fastest. That is a major, major setback for their championship challenge. Maybe his teammate Hugo Sass can get it all together and take pole for the second of the races, but it's about 2 results across both races that really count. But for the AMG Mercedes camp, it's a busy place. That's Enzo Juli being talked to with great passion by Luc Ibanez, and he will be taking over the car that has just taken pole for the first of the 2 races. Certainly Ibanez was looking very animated there, but it really is about, I'm sure he's saying, you've got to work your space in traffic. Do not get obstructed, and maybe wait till near the end when the track may just empty out a little bit, but it's a gamble. It really is. So very quick fire indeed in the GT4 European Series. 4 races done. A pair at Imola, a pair at Paul Ricard. 2 races to come here at Misano before they keep moving on around Europe. And a lot of the top teams from GT3 also run several cars, and some even more than several, in GT4. And that's why we've got as many as 45 cars coming out to play on this tight and twisty 4-kilometre circuit. And didn't that order change an awful lot? Some of the drivers that were near the top ended up down the order. NM Racing Team took the advantage, the first pole of the day, and that was Luc Ibanez by 43 thousandths of a second. They were fellow Mercedes racers, both from the Codis ASP camp. That's Jim Pla and Simon Gachet, with the top Porsche driver Vincent Andronico, who's going better and better, sharing with Andreas Mayel this season. Tom Canning, the top Aston Martin driver, in 5th place. Second Porsche driver was Hendrik, still in 6th. Antoine Leclerc, top Alpine driver, in 7th. Konstantin Lachenauer, a race winner at race 1, in 8th. The top 10 completed by Alexander Hartwig in the 3rd of the Porsches, and the 2nd of the Alpines, Jean-Baptiste Meller, just being pushed very hard indeed by Dante Rapanga in the Soul Chevrolet. But it was about making track space and making it count, but super tight. Top 18 covered by a 2nd from pole position. So really very tight indeed. Top runner in the AM class was Benjamin Ricci in 19th place overall, also for a Codis ASP with his Mercedes, just ahead of Philippe Vava. So good, tidy practice session. A couple of little spins, but no damage done. And I think we're looking forward to 2 very tight and exciting races. Let's see what the second batch can bring. And some top names further down the order. Just spotted Adam Carroll in his McLaren, the top McLaren. That's from down in 27th position overall, but 1.3 seconds off the pace. But he's looking, I'm sure, to advance in the early laps. So one driver did not set a time, which is Cyril Salai. So he and Benoit Lisson will be a little bit at a setback. They'll be starting at the very tail of this super competitive field. But it was Mercedes, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. That's the story of the opening one of the 2 qualifying sessions. And the second qualifying session coming up very soon indeed. And as I said earlier, the first of the 2 races here at the Circuit Marco Simoncelli will be at 5:10 this afternoon, running through until 6:10. And the race tomorrow will be 11:15 to 12:15, so in temperatures similar to this, one would suggest. Another famous name climbing out, Beltoise, 2 racing sons of Jean-Pierre. With that really strong run for BRM at Monaco in the day, in the rain. Here, there's no chance of rain. There's just a chance of temperature and more temperature. Very hot indeed. Doesn't appear yet to be as hot as it was yesterday. There's Beltoise passing on his knowledge and experience. What are the track conditions like? Where can you pass? Running in an Audi. For Santalot Racing, who obviously run cars in the GT3 series as well. Anthony Beltoise with Olivier Estevez. Best results so far. They're running in the Pro-Am class, and Olivier, clearly the Am in that, is a 16th place at Imola. So to get anywhere near the top dozen would be an enormous achievement here, because it's super competitive. So we go qualifying again. We've done a 20-minute qualifying session. I said it's quick fire in the GT4 European Series. It most certainly is. We're about to do it all over again. this time with the second driver in the car. And of course, where you qualify is where you start your race. And if you were the driver that did the qualifying time, you are the starting driver. Oh, so we broached 30 degrees track temperature, 29 and a bit degrees. What I'm going to watch a little bit is the humidity. We've got blue sky, but with a little bit of cloud gathering, and certainly that's the thing that really, really makes the drivers suffer. I think it's okay. 72%, we'll live with that for now. Now, are we going to see a better challenge from the BMWs? Really haven't shown a very good hand here as yet. Borissan Automotive Motorsport from Turkey, long-standing supporters of this series. But you can see Enzo Giuli was keen, and in fact, maybe that's why there was so much encouragement from Luc Ibanez, who's taken the pole for the first race. He got his teammate into the car, strapped in, and first to pit exit. And if they can take 2 poles for the 2 races here, that will be a phenomenal boost of their championship challenge. They're sitting in 5th place overall, a considerable number of points down on Konstantin Lachenauer and Gus Bowers. They're on 81 points in the lead. Ortmann and Sass second on 50. Canning Rabindra, the Aston Martin drivers, third on 46. But Ibanez and Giuli down in 36. But that pole position for the first race could be worth its weight in gold. Now, let's see. Is it eat, sleep, repeat? Or is it douse your driver down, get a new one, and then repeat? Let's take a look and see what happens. 20 minutes, they're waiting for the flag to get them out, so the people that are still in the pit area are not disadvantaged, they just won't be at the front of the queue. So, hot moments for all the drivers concerned. Sitting there stewing, I can see that Alexander Papadopoulos, the back of the queue in his Mercedes, has got the door open, as has the sister car, Jean-Luc Behet. But those in the front, maybe they've just forgotten this thing, maybe they're focusing, maybe the team talking to them on the radio. But it's hot enough just considering, in a temperate climate, what lies ahead. But sitting here in the full heat of the sun on the Adriatic coast of Italy in what is a real heat spike, it's going to be uncomfortable, but they've got a job to do. And for some of them, it's a job of 2 parts. We saw drivers coming and getting new tyres, going back out and seeing what they can do. But the GT4 tyres last that little bit longer, so maybe it's more about getting yourself into clear air, into track space. So temperature rising in the cockpits, the pressure, the consideration. 16 turns, you can imagine the drivers like Enzo Giuli fainting one way, fainting another, like a skier about to do a downhill course. Just imagining the 16 turns around this circuit. And even the top drivers say this circuit, the circuit Marco Simoncelli, is one in which it's so technical, it's just super easy to make one small mistake that will absolutely ruin your lap. The other thing that can ruin your lap, of course, is traffic. 44 other cars out on the circuit that could just interrupt your fast lap when they're not on their fast lap. So drivers have to look out. New team this year, the Drago Racing Team, ZVO, Robert Haub, the American racer, and Gabriela Jukova from the Czech Republic, or Czechia as we call it now, just taking over for this second session. Level of preparation of these cars, absolutely fabulous. They've really improved over the years, and every bit as any series around the world. And this is the Turkish team, Borissan Automotive Motorsport, long-standing BMW team. And Berkay Bester is the driver taking over. So 20 minutes is no longer. It's 19 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this qualifying session. And those at the back of this very long queue in the pit lane will be disadvantaged, almost the tune of a lap, as this field sort of concertinas out and extends as the first drivers get out onto the circuit. To the extent the last in this line may still be just joining the circuit as the first cars start their first flying lap. So it could be very busy indeed, and driver behaviour and manners could have a huge part to play in this. Allied Racing, staunch supporters of the series over the years. Andreas Mael sharing with Vincent Andronico. Bear in mind that Andronico car, number 22, the Porsche, was good for 4th place behind the top 3 Mercedes in that first qualifying session. And always when you've got a field of a two-driver lineup, you have no idea what's coming in the second session, because for a lot of the drivers, particularly the Pro-Am crews, you might have had the Pro do one session. Well, you will have a Pro doing one session, the Am doing the another. So very, very seldom do you ever get a qualifying order that looks anything like the other one. Qualifying 1, qualifying 2, always hugely different. But the teams that really prosper, whether it's in the Silver Cup, the Pro-Am class, or the Am class, are those that have the best balanced lineup. And here, pole is absolutely everything. Best time, the time they need to beat, or the time that put the marker down, was in that first session. Luc Ibanez taking pole position for race 1, 1 minute 40.380 seconds. And what we saw in that first session, the first flying lap, not particularly notable. Second flying lap, not particularly. And it was only really on the third that the drivers managed to get the tyres in the right position as far as their braid was concerned, to offer the performance required to take a really, really quick lap. So it'll take 3 or 4 minutes to start settling down, for drivers to show their hands. Pierre Saint-Sinana, loads of experience. He could be one of the challengers in his tidy little Alpine, one of the most faithful modern iterations, faithful to the original shape of that 1960s, early 70s Alpine. And a fabulous car, brilliant on the road, taking that sort of Franco-Italian approach of lightweight, nimble little car. And I think in years to come, people will really appreciate these on the road for their handling and sheer fun that they can offer. Power is one thing, but the sweetest thing is accelerating hard, I find, with a small, nimble car. I think it really gives you driving pleasure. So we now know that Pierre Saint-Sinana has headlights that work. He may well have to use them. In fact, I'm sure he'll have to use them if there's a slower car ahead. So you can see the drivers still on their second lap, weaving around, trying to get heat in their tyres. No need to get heat in the cockpit, it's already there. Laurent Hergon going well in his Alpine, but times slightly meaningless. Just remember, though, in the first session, it was Mercedes first, second, and third. Will that be the case this time around? 3.5 minutes already being dispensed with a bit of heat into the tyres. Drivers looking ahead, trying to work out which drivers are up ahead. Are they faster than me, slower than me? If they're slower, will they come back and obstruct my lap? How much space should I give them? Now, Pierre Saint-Sinana, 15 corners done, 16 corners now done. He's got a nice little gap ahead of him, so he's got a space into which to fire that Alpine to see if he can set a proper lap. Yeah, looking meaningful as he dives, with Jean-Luc Behet behind him into that first turn. The driver flashing his headlights, French racer Romain Monti, sharing one of those CMR Toyota Supras. Very, very popular car in this class. First time on the board, we saw him at the top of the screen, Jean-Luc Behet. He's now been moved back by car number 8, and that is Corentin Sourin, sharing another of the Supras from CMR. But 1 minute 44.1, that's 3.8 seconds down on provisional, well, definite pole for the first race. These times will tumble. Jean-Laurent Navarro, another French racer, also in an Alpine, goes into second place. And a BMW for now featuring near the top. They were nowhere in the first session, but third place for Massimiliano Trisoldi. That immediately becomes fourth place. Henry Lyngby Pedersen moves his Aston Martin into second for Team Spirit Racing. But trust me, these positions will change. Look, Pierre Saint-Sinana has taken 1.1 seconds off his first sector. Yeah, just in the first sector. The lap time will come down. We're looking probably 1.5 seconds down on his pace so far. Pierre Saint-Sinana, though, does need to improve. He's 9 seconds down on provisional pole, but this really his first serious flying lap. He took that extra warm-up lap in the number 110 Alpine, being pushed very hard by Jean-Luc Behet. Mercedes right behind him. They will both improve their time. They will both improve their position. Will they go to the top? Sascha Botterman is at the top, 1 minute 42.45. So he's easily clear. But Behet goes up into third place and Saint-Sinana for fourth. That was a really good time from Sascha Botterman. Car number 67, one of the Team Full Motorsport Audis. And yeah, that is a cracking lap. Yeah, very, very good for Sascha Botterman there. So that will stand him in good stead. But just bear in mind, that's two seconds down on the pace in the first qualifying session. Fabien Michal puts his Audi into second place. He's also in the 1 minute 42s. Jean Navarro, he is third in his Alpine, 1 minute 43.7. So a big spread of times at the moment. Bear in mind, the top 18 in the first qualifying session were covered by a second. At the moment, we've only got the top one, because Fabien Michal, 1 minute 42.9, way clear of the rest. That time has now been taken away from him. So track limits have cost Michal, and in fact that's dropped him down to, with his best lap removed at this stage, it puts him down to 20th position. Oh, how the mighty and the flighty have fallen. Sasha Botterman, well, it's looking like another improvement. His time, where's that going to propel him? He goes into the lead again, just waiting for that time to be confirmed. He'd had his previous best lap taken away from him, so track limits really are a thing. And as fast as you look at a timing screen, look at someone's name, you do get changes, but then their best lap might be, or their previous lap might be taken away for that limit transgression. And still the times change. Erwan Bastard goes up into second place, 0.6 of a second down. So it's Sasha Botterman in his Audi, Erwan Bastard in his Audi. And then car 37, a name that you don't normally see at the top, WNS Motorsport with their Porsche, Andrei Solukovstev. Kenny Heremans gets the big Camaro up into third place as it becomes fourth place, because Laurent Ergon goes up to second place in his Audi. Who's settling in? Who's settling nicely? Romain Monti is 13th, but going very well indeed in his Toyota. But Sasha Botterman, now another super fast lap from the number 67 Audi, is put on the board and immediately taken away from him, unfortunately. So his best lap taken away. We're down to 1 minute 42.157 seconds. That's Laurent Ergon, who's 0.05 of a second clear of Erwan Bastard. So a lot of drivers having their best times taken away. And a lot of drivers now getting caught in traffic. Look out for Gus Bowers, because he was one of the winners of the first two races, the Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin. That's car Aston Martin moving up the order, but good interval times, but still waiting for a lap to be completed. It's car number 10. He's down in 32nd position, but when he completes his lap, I'm sure he'll go up towards the top. The top is now in the hands of Romain Monti, 1 minute 41.499, going really well in that CMR Toyota. We saw him early on. Hugo Sass pushing very hard for Pro Sport. Won the last two races. They were both at the Paul Ricard circuit. Coming towards the end of the lap, he's in 9th place at the moment, but he's got the fastest first sector of anyone. I'm sure we'll see an improvement for Hugo Sass, just waiting for him to cross the finish line, and most certainly there is, because 9th becomes first, so Romain Monti will have to do it all over again. Just a third of a second to the good. That was a really impressive lap from the German. Hugo tucking it in where he wants to tuck it. So Hugo Sass, 1 minute 41.1 seconds. Enzo Giuli, the first driver out in this second qualifying session, goes within 0.18 of a second. So he's in second place. Romain Monti pushed back to third. This is cracking. At the top of the table, we've got 6 different manufacturers in the top 6 positions. It's Aston Martin, thanks to Hugo Sass. Enzo Giuli in his Mercedes. Romain Monti in his Toyota. Laurent Ergon in his Alpine. Erwan Bastard in his Audi. And then Kenny Heremans in his Chevrolet. Best of the BMWs, Berkay Bessler in 6th overall. Hugo Sass going faster and faster, traffic up ahead. Will he have to scratch this lap? Most probably will. Hugo Sass has had his best laps taken away from him. He's suddenly tumbled from the lead down to 17th place overall. So Enzo Giuli sits at the top of the table with his rivals changing by the minute, and suddenly car number 22, the Allied Racing Porsche that was good in the first session, it was 4th in the first qualifying session. Andreas Mael has moved into 3rd place. Timing screens, frankly, getting a little bit confusing, just because you look at a name, you look at the order, and suddenly a car you're looking at disappears and tumbles 20 positions as track limits, transgressions get to bite. Oh, if Hugo Sass hadn't been blocked in the middle part of the lap, he would have set a flying lap, but let's see what he can do. Fastest of all in the first sector. He's fallen with his best time taken away to 20th position. Surely even with a bad middle sector, he'll improve on that. Waiting for proof. And no, he doesn't. It was too much of a hit in the middle sector. He's got to do it all again. Oh, in fact, the middle sector, he was 5 seconds down in traffic. Right, Enzo Giuli, can he raise the bar? 1 minute 41.326 seconds. Brilliant opening sector. Fantastic middle sector. Doesn't improve his time. Had a slow final sector. Traffic really is the enemy. There's an element of lottery, an element of luck, but also if you've got half a gap in front of you, you can drop back and make it double the gap. Erwin Bastard, good for 6th at the moment, 7th at the moment in his bright Team Full Motorsport Audi. He's got a bit of traffic up ahead of him. Not too close, that Mercedes, to trouble him, but lights on all the same. Enzo Giuli picking out the pace again. Provisional pole for him with 8 minutes remaining. And he's clear by 0.173 seconds from Romain Monti's Toyota. It's still the Mercedes on top, and he's fastest of anyone in that first sector. So look out for that number 15 Mercedes. Oh, looks like a near spinner. Number 14 Audi from Team Santalok. That was Olivier Estevez. We saw him in the pit lane, and we almost saw both sides of his car there. Got a little bit loose. Erwin Bastard also really pushing very hard indeed. Enzo Giuli still top. Middle sector good, but not his best. Don't know if we're going to see an improvement, but Enzo, 1 minute 41.3 seconds. He's the target. Brilliant first sector. Flashes through the final corner. Enzo Giuli, can he get down into the 1 minute 40? So 1 minute 41.3. Is it going to be beaten? 1 minute 40.850. Yes, it can be beaten. So 0.3 of a second gain. That puts him 0.65 of a second clear. That's an enormous margin ahead of Romain Monti. So the number 15 NM Racing crew, they got pole for the first race and on provisional pole for the second race. Job very, very well done. But it's not over yet. 6 3/4 minutes remain. Who can challenge? 0.65 of a second over Romain Monti. The rest have to raise their game. And one who's really done that up into 3rd place last time around is Moritz Wiskirchen. Allied Racing have been looking good here. Certainly the Imola circuit, the Misano circuit really does seem to suit the Porsche 718 Cayman. And Wiskirchen came from nowhere to go up ahead of Gus Bowers into 3rd place overall. Will there be an improvement? He's got just 7/100ths of a second to find to see if he can get onto 2nd position on this grid, but more like 0.7 of a second, a whole 7/10 to topple Enzo Giuli. He won't top Giuli, surely, but will he move into 2nd place? No, he stays in 3rd place. Backed off in that final sector. Traffic a little bit of a problem. The clock keeps on ticking. A few drivers doing the thing they did in the first session. Cars being brought into the pits for a little bit of a consideration, or maybe their shot has been fired, their best shot has been achieved. But what it does mean is already half a dozen cars have entered the pit lane, a little bit more space on track. So if your tyres are sweet at this sweet point, oh no, we've had a spinning Aston Martin, that's car number 19. That's Akil Rabindra who's taken over from Tom Canning. So that won't have helped his tyres, won't have helped his lap. The sister car just in the background of the shot there. Racing Spirit of Le Mans, of course, the sister car, Gus Bowers and Konstantin Lachenau won both of the races at the opening round of the series at Imola back in the cooler temperatures of April. And alone among the front runners, a driver improving is Hugo Sass. Spare a thought for him. He was top of the pile, and then a transgression in his WNS Motorsport, drops him right down the order. And car 24, Pro Sport Racing, Aston Martin, that's what I was looking for. He's had to regain the laps that he lost. But that target time, 1 minute 40.620. Enzo Giuli's just improved on his previous best. He's stretched the advantage, 0.88 of a second. This is a monstrous lead from Giuli. But I honestly think that Hugo Sass is possibly the only driver who can topple him. And suddenly a late challenge from the number 3 team speed car Audi. Robert Consani has got his tail up. He's moved up into 4th place overall. He's 9/10 of a second down on the first session. Now, Hugo Sass coming into the pits with 4 minutes remaining. Was that his best shot? unfortunate with that best lap being taken away from him, and he scuppered a lap in which he improved in the first sector and the second sector, but he's binned the lap and come in. He's ended up nearly 1.1 seconds down on that amazing lap from Enzo Giuli on a track that clearly is very, very good for the Mercedes. Number 38, Porsche in the pits. That's from the WNS Motorsport camp. That's Max Kronberg, and shares with Hendrick still. Hendrick qualified very well for that first race. Certainly was in the running. Robert Consani, that number 3 Audi. He's improved in his first sector. If he gains 0.1 of a second, he'll move up into third place. If he gains a tiny bit more, he could go into second, and they're still way down on Enzo Giuli, 0.879 seconds clear of the best of the rest, which at the moment is Romain Monti in his Toyota. Three minutes remain. Robert Consani on a charge. His middle sector not his best, but small gains may be enough for him. He gained half a second in the first sector of the lap, lost 3 of those tenths in the second one. We got it down, no. Got it down a bit, got it back down a bit, close enough to get a slipstream. Are we going to see a change? Consani goes into second place, used the toe very well indeed. The next lap would have been obstructed by traffic at NM Motorsport. They're very happy indeed at the moment. Enzo Giuli is doing the job out on the track. His teammate has already done the job early on. It could be a double pole for the Spanish team. Nicolas Montserrat's team, Luc Ibanez, very excited down in the pit lane there. Now they've got to cross their fingers and hope that Consani doesn't go any faster. And as soon as Consani set that time, it was taken away for, guess what, track limit excess. He's fallen back on his second best time, now only good for 7th place overall, because we had a driver making gains. Top Aston Martin driver now is Gus Bowers. And then as fast as times come on the screen, they get taken away again. He's ahead of Hugo Sass. Hugo's still out on the circuit. We saw him come into the pit lane. Laurent Ergon seeing if he could be, well, he still is the top driver in the Alpine class, if you will, with all these different manufacturers in GT4 European Series. 1 minute 40.620, 0.24 of a second down on the best pace set by his teammate. That's Enzo Giuli challenging Ibanez, but at the moment not yet toppling his teammate's time. Luke still has the bragging rights, but 2 poles, 1 in the bag and 1 provisional, is a very, very good morning's undertaking for NM Motorsport here at this tight and twisty circuit at Misano. The NM racing team will be very, very pleased indeed. Giuli, though, can no longer respond. He's in the pit lane with just a minute and a few seconds on the clock. Who can make a move? Who can make a lap that's not only quick, but is achieved within the confines of the circuit? The number 10 Aston Martin, Gus Bowers, he's moved up into 4th place. No improvement for him this time around. Already a double winner in this series. First 2 races of the series in the bag for the Racing Spirit of Le Mans. Berkay Bester, about the only driver improving out of the circuit. He's moved to be the top BMW driver, pretty much as expected, but not where they really want. But as the closing seconds tick away, majority of the field now in the pit lane, and those out on the track, where's the change going to come from? Maybe Gus Bowers, but no, he'd have to do it next time around, because this lap not quite good enough. In fact, the checkered flag may beat him to the start-finish line. No, he too has dived into the pits. Very few of the front runners are out there. 87 Mercedes. Jean-Luc Beaubelic gave it a good shot, and of course his really strong teammate Jim Pla does the rest in the other qualifying session. And I really sense, as the checkered flag fall, there we are, NM Racing Team, 2 qualifying sessions in very short order and 2 pole positions. So they'll be delighted with that. Enzo Giuli, 1 minute 40.62 seconds is good for pole by a much bigger margin, by 0.879 of a second, which is rather larger, it must be said, than the 43 thousandths of a second between Luc Ibanez and Jim Pla at the end of the opening second. But hold on, it's not over yet, because Robert Consani improves. He got through just before the checkered flag fell. onto this final lap. He's got a green sector, so he's improved in the first sector, doesn't want to be blocked, dives up the inside, gets the nose chopped into the final corner, may yet still be able to improve from 7th place overall. Don't forget he was good for second, had the time taken away. Will he rise on this, the final lap? But how much was that obstruction going to cost him? He moves up to 6th place overall. Oh, a few more thousandths and he could have gained, well, he could have actually been 3rd or 4th on the grid. But at the end, it's Enzo Giuli just waiting for the last few cars to take the checkered flag. From Romain Monti, 0.879 of a second apart, then a very small fraction back to Moritz Witzkirchen, the top Porsche driver in 3rd place overall, and Gus Bowers top Aston Martin, and Robert Consani at the end had to settle for 6th. It's a story of what could have been a bit more to be the top Audi driver. So tight and twisty is the track, tight and narrow is the track when you come to try and overtake. Christophe Hamon had a very good run. He is the top AM qualifier. And just to let you know where that puts him on the grid, that's in 18th place overall. Top Pro-Am runner, we've already seen him, that's Kenny Heremans. In 9th place overall in his Chevrolet Camaro, the big rumbler. And top in the Silver Cup class, and top overall, Enzo Giuli. So did a very good job. Every single driver will be rueing a moment when either they backed off to let someone who looked a little bit quicker through, or got blocked by someone who didn't let them through. So certainly on a track like this, so many great laps can be wrecked, but it sort of works, evens out overall. But look at that advantage, 0.879 of a second. That is huge at this level. And the job done in the first session by Luc Ibanez was matched by Enzo Giuli in this second qualifying session. So NM Racing Team with their Mercedes would be very happy indeed. Romain Monti put his Toyota Supra 2nd fastest. And Moritz Witzkirchen, learning as he goes, getting faster all the time. 3rd to be the top Porsche driver. Gus Bowers and Hugo Sass. Hugo upset by track limits transgressions, cost him his best time. They're 4th and 5th. Then Robert Consani, he too was blocked right at the end. He's the top Audi driver in 6th overall, ahead of Sascha Botterman and Erwan Bastard. And the top 10 completed by Kenny Heremans, the top Pro-Am runner in his Chevrolet Camaro, and Robert Haub in a Mercedes in 10th place overall. It was very, very busy out there, and a lot of drivers will be ruining a combination of things, but most notably it'd be track limits transgressions, because a host of drivers had their very best times taken away. But it's one rule for everyone, and you just have to do your best to stay within. Tempting to run deep in a corner and see where you can place it. And all 45 cars went out in that session. Only one of them didn't set a time in the first qualifying session, so whatever was wrong has been improved upon, and that is good to see. First of the 2 races here at Misano will be at 5:10 this afternoon. It'll be hot, it'll be sticky. The racing action is guaranteed to be super fast indeed, and very, very tight. Driver change midway through the order, and actually one car listed as not having started. The Gysi's Aston Martin. But we have a packed grid of cars. But really, for NM Racing, they got the conditions right. They got their drivers out early in the session, worked the system very, very well indeed, and certainly getting Enzo Giuli to the front of the queue, the very first car to go out, was a masterful move. But let's take a look back at the highlights of qualifying. Cars wherever the eye fell. And looking around the circuit for Pro Speed, it was Hugo Sass pressing on, trying to find space in traffic, starting to set fast times. In the first session, it was Luc Ibanez for NM Racing Team. So the Mercedes starting to show well, some really good, strong runs. The 81 crew from Mercedes ASP, Simon Gachet in particular in that first session, very quick indeed. We then, of course, had cars coming in to get new tyres to cool the driver down, to focus on how to make a space in traffic. But the second session had NM Racing Team already on pole for race 1, and their car was first out for the second qualifying session. Enzo Giuli at the front of the queue. Hugo Sass showing great form in the number 24 Aston Martin. And others also trying to make a gap in the traffic, trying to get their tyres right, trying to stay within the white lines. And Romain Monti pushing on very, very hard indeed for the CMR Toyota crew, would end up right at the sharp end of the field, but not the sharpest point. That went to NM Racing Team. And you can see how some of the drivers were really having to pick their way through traffic. That was the 67 Audi of Sascha Botterman. No wonder he was up near the front end of the field. For Hugo Sass, though, he pressed hard, and unfortunately for him, he lost his very best time. That got taken away for exceeding the track limits. He was still pushing right at the end. But the session belonged to Enzo Giuli, not by a small margin, by, in the end, a huge margin, nearly 9/10 of a second. Neat and tidy, but importantly fast. Moritz Fitzkirchen also went really, really well to get the Porsche up near the front. And a late challenge, and it just didn't come out. Traffic got in the way of the charging Robert Consani. But it belongs today. Qualifying is all about the NM Racing Mercedes.